This is the Core 2 video for calculating tables and graphs for equations in the standard form. You've hopefully watched the videos on calculating tables using the vertex form and using the factored form. This is the standard form. Standard form looks like this. I have an x squared minus something times x minus 3. So first of all, same as before, where I see an x, for the first line I put negative 2. Negative 2 squared. I see x squared, I put negative 2 squared. I see minus 2x, I put minus 2 times negative 2. And then I see minus 3, I always put minus 3. Minus 3 is not affected by the x. I've given you two columns here. This column, I want you to do the work kind of one step at a time. Negative 2 squared means negative 2 times 2. So I will do negative 2 times negative 2. And I get 4. If you prefer, you can do negative 2 and use the squared button. But you have to put the negative 2 in parentheses. Otherwise, the calculator will think you're just squaring 2. It won't think you want to multiply negative 2 times negative 2. And you get a positive 4. So my first term is 4. And then I subtract 2 times negative 2. So I go back to my calculator. 2 times negative 2. And as we know, a negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 2 is 4. So I get negative 4. It's going to be interesting, though. I'm subtracting a negative 4. Okay. Subtracting a negative, we're going to do that on the calculator. And I subtract a 3. So again, on the calculator, I do 4 minus negative 4. And you can see here the difference between the minus and the negative. Minus is the button on the right. Negative is the button on the bottom. 4 minus negative 4. You'll see that's actually the same thing as adding. If I take away a negative, it's the same as adding a positive. I get 8. Okay. So I have 4 minus 4 gives me 8. 8 minus 3. I'm going to do that on the calculator, even though most of us can do that in our heads. Minus 3 equals 5. So y equals 5. Okay. Take 45 seconds. Plug negative 1 into the formula. And see what you get. Then you can check your answer. All right. So you plugged in negative 1. Where you see an x, you put negative 1. The formula says x squared, you do negative 1 squared. The formula says minus 2 times x, you do minus 2 times negative 1. This 2 stays the same, the x changes. So I have 2 here, I have 2 here. I had negative 2 here, I have negative 1 here. Now I do minus 3. The minus 3 stays the same. Negative 1 times negative 1. First of all, I do negative 1 times negative 1. Negative times the negative is a positive. 1 times 1 is 1. Minus 2 times negative 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. So I'm doing a minus a negative 2. 2 times negative 1, negative 2. And I subtract that. And then just as before, I subtract a 3. So, go to my calculator. 1 minus negative 2. 1 minus negative 2 gives me a positive 3. So this gives me a positive 3. Now I do 3 minus 3. I get 0. 3 minus 3 gives me 0. Okay. 45 seconds. See what happens when x equals 0. What is y when x equals 0? All right, so you plugged in 0. And we've talked about this before. 0 squared minus 2, I still have minus 2, times 0, minus 3. And we see something interesting. 0 squared means 0 times 0. So I have 0. 2 times 0, that's 0. So I subtract 0. And then I do minus 3. And we've talked about the y-intercept. We know that minus 3 is the y-intercept because when x equals 0, I have 0 minus 0, it equals 0. 0 minus 3, negative 3. So I can find the y-intercept just by looking at the standard form of the equation. Take about 45 seconds, plug in x equals 1. What happens to y when x is 1? Okay, so you were plugging in 1. You get 1 squared. X, 1, you plug in 1. Minus 2, this is always 2. X is 1. I see an x here, I put in 1. And then I do minus 3. It's always minus 3. It doesn't change with x. Okay. 1 squared I'm not going to get the calculator again. That's 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Minus 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is 2. So now I'm subtracting 2. I'm not subtracting a negative anymore. Makes it a little easier. And then minus 3. I am going to go to my thermometer, though, to think about this. 1 minus 2 minus 3. So my thermometers. Am I out of thermometers? No, I've got one more thermometer. 1 minus 2. I start at 1. And then I go down to 1, 2. I get negative 1. Now I take that negative 1 and I subtract 3. So I start at negative 1. Subtract 1, subtract 2, subtract 3. So 1 minus 2 gave me negative 1. Negative 1 minus 3 gives me negative 4. And I go back to my table. Negative 4. Try x equals 2 now. When x equals 2, what does y equal? Okay, so you plugged in 2. Hopefully it looks something like this. I see an x, I put a 2. 2 squared minus 2. I see a 2 up here, I put a 2 here. I see an x, I put a 2. I see a 3 up here, I put a 3. I only put the 2 when I see an x. So 2 squared, 2 times 2, 2 squared means 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Minus 2 times 2. Again, 2 times 2 is 4. Minus 3. 4 minus 4, I have 4 cookies. I eat 4 cookies. I have no cookies left. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Try x equals 3 now. What is y when x equals 3? Okay, so you did x equals 3. You hopefully put in 3 squared because you have x squared. Minus 2. I see a 2 up here. I put a 2 down here. I see an x up here. I put a 3 now. Wherever I see an x, I put this number. Then I subtract 3. And now I do calculating each one. 3 squared, 3 times 3, 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. I subtract 6, and then I subtract 3. 9 minus 6, 3. 3 minus 3, 0. Last one. Try to calculate y if x equals 4. Okay. Last one. You see an x, you put a 4. You see a squared, you put a squared. You see minus 2, you put minus 2. You see an x, you put a 4. You do minus 3. So ultimately, 4 times 4, I get 16. 2 times 4, I get 8. And I subtract that. And then I do minus 3. Always minus 3. 16 minus 8 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. Graph these on the graph. And as we said before with the vertex form, you're going to find something interesting when you put those on the graph. Thank you for watching.